Welcome back to Brews and Bets. My name is Steve Ricciardi. With me, as always, is Tyler Beard. Tyler, how we doing?
Doing good, man. The A's pulled out a ninth inning. I want to say a comeback, but it was tied up. So, but they won in the bottom of the ninth. So no complaints here. Good start to the day.
Never a complaint with an A's win. CG, how's it going over there in Detroit land? Tigers doing any good these days or what?
To be honest, I don't follow baseball that much, but all I know is last Saturday, UFC St. Petersburg was a fucking disaster. It's appraisal time at work. My kid has pink eye, so let's drink some beer and talk some fights. This is my therapy session, and it starts right now.
Actually on DraftKings, I played one lineup because I wasn't gonna be able to watch the fights, and I took first place in a qualifier.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I actually was on my Quan Edge picks. I was 9 for 9 on my bets. I had one bet that the one fight that was canceled. So I put out 10 bets and I was 9 for 9 on the other one. So yeah, let's get this going. As everybody can probably tell, the show's going to look a little different this week. We have a couple sponsors, and we're trying to get the show produced somewhat professionally at this point. And let's get right into fight number 1. So this first fight is Court McGee and Diego Lima. I'll take this one, guys, and then throw it to you for your picks. I think that this is going to be a pretty straightforward fight. I really do like Court McGee in this fight. I think that he's going to be able to grind out Diego Lima. Court McGee averages 4.72 strikes landed. 2 takedown average. But for the most part, Diego Lima, I think that he's when he fought Yushin Okami, let's start there. It was a decision loss, 6 takedowns. When he fought Jesse Taylor, for the most part, Lima had a little bit of success in the feet, but Jesse Taylor was able to take him down. And when he did that, he was able to submit him. I believe that was a second-round submission, if I remember correctly. But I really do like Court McGee. I don't think he has the finishing capability. Again, this is MMA. Anything can happen. But Court McGee by decision is plus 140. And that's actually a play I'm looking to make. So Ty, what do you think? In agreement, disagreement?
Yeah, I'm kind of in agreement. I think that the most likely outcome is McGee by decision. I just never trust Court McGee. So I'm personally going to stay away from betting this fight. That being said, I do think that McGee by decision is the likely outcome, but I just can't stand behind it with any confidence.
Yeah, and right now the MyBookie line on Court McGee is minus 162. McGee by decision is plus 140. CG, what do you think? Are you on Lima or are you with us with McGee?
No, we're all in agreement. I think the most likely outcome is Court McGee by a grappling-based decision. Once Lima gets on his back, he has a tough time getting back to his feet. Lima had a nice showing in his last fight, knocked out Chad Laprise, but Laprise doesn't really have a chin. Court McGee's pretty damn tough. Last time he was knocked out was Santiago Ponzinibbio, who's a top 5 talent at welterweight. So I just think Court should have this one fairly easily.
I'm a little bit concerned by McGee's 24% takedown accuracy. I think he's going to want to get the fight to the ground, but that's kind of one of the reasons why I don't have confidence in him, is because he's not the greatest of wrestlers. So take that for what it's worth.
Yeah, no, but and with the 24%, I did see that. And when you go back through some of his fights, what you realize is he really does just chase that takedown too. So he'll push people up against the cage. He'll try to clinch. Again, he's a grinder, so he doesn't mind grinding out the win and grinding you to the ground.
That's the thing. And Lima only has 50% takedown defense too.
Yeah.
So it's not like he's good at defending takedowns.
No, and again, he can get in the fights where people tried to grind them out. It was successful. So this next fight, guys, I'm going to take this one too, just because I don't really think that you guys are going to love this fight. So maybe we'll get through this one quick. The MyBookie line on Angela Hill right now is minus 525. Jody Escobar comes in on MyBookie at plus 375. Not a big fan of this fight. I think it's just going to be a grinding, striking-based decision for whoever wins this fight. And I think it's going to be Angela Hill just because of her volume. I don't think Jody Escobar is very good at all. She actually lost to Alex Chambers. Astro Girl, I think, is her nickname, and she's pretty bottom of the barrel in the 115 division. So I'm going to go Angela Hill by decision, minus 180. I think it's a pretty safe bet. I don't think that this is going to finish. And again, Angela Hill has a bunch of losses, but her losses are to Randa Marcos, Courtney Casey. She lost to Nina back in the day, Rose, Tisha Torres. So you're talking about some legit losses. And she's coming off a 2-fight losing streak. She lost to Marcos and Courtney Casey. Again, Casey's someone who can grind you out. We just got off a fight where we talked about grinders. And then when it comes to Randa Marcos, that was about a month ago, I believe, right? She got that arm bar. She got her down to the ground. I actually picked Angela Hill in that fight also. I thought she would win a striking-based decision. But Marcos was able to get her down and get that arm bar in. So, CJ, I'll throw it to you next. Angela Hill, you calling for an upset here, or what do you think?
No, I think Angela Hill wins by striking-based decision. You know, Angela Hill's pretty high output, lands 5.6 strikes per minute. And Jodie Esquibel's really not that good. I don't really know why she's in the UFC. Maybe it's because she trains at Jackson Wink. Maybe it's because she's married to Keith Jardine. But, you know, I don't really think she belongs. And I think she will definitely lose the fight. And I like that line a lot. Angela Hill winning by decision, you said it was minus 180?
Minus 180, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good line. Safe bet.
Yeah, those first two fights to me are pretty straightforward.
No, I agree.
Yeah, no, Angela Hill, her output's over 5 strikes per minute landed. And Esquibel gets in her 2 UFC fights, she gets hit with over 8 strikes per minute. I think that this has the pace that Angela Hill's just gonna tee off on her. I'm gonna actually put Hill in some parlays. I think what'd you say the line was on my bookie?
On my bookie, the line on Angela Hill just to win, Ty, is minus 525.
Minus 525. I think towards weigh-in time it might dip down a little bit.
Yeah.
So I might wait on it, and if it dips under 5, I'll probably add it to parlays anyway. But I'm gonna try to get as low of odds as possible. I kind of do think it's going to be a decision, but as much as Esquibel is going to be hit, I'm not going to really risk the extra juice there, and I'm just going to lock her in a parlay.
And Ty, I know we talk parlays all the time. On the Quan Edge, when I do put my betting picks for the week, a lot of times I'll do a straight bet section and a parlay piece.
Mm-hmm.
When you add a parlay piece, what odds are you looking for? Is there an odd that you're saying, all right, I'm not adding this, it's not going to add any value, and I don't really want to add it to the parlay?
So what I find myself doing is if there's bets that I like that are under minus 200-ish, I'll play those straight usually. Anything that's a big favorite that I think has no chance of losing really, I'll piece those together in a parlay, and I kind of just see that as like a free bankroll booster.
Okay.
I don't know. That's the way that I've kind of been attacking it, and it's been pretty effective. So I don't really mind it too much. I don't really want to get greedy with parlays. I'll play that more conservative, play the straight bets on ones with better odds.
Yeah.
But for the longer price odds, if I could pair 3 of them together, 3 big favorites together, and get around even money, I kind of like those plays.
Yeah, and I think CG and I do kind of similar things with parlays. I just know some of the parlays we've talked about in the past. But for the most part, if I can get 2 or 3 of them in the minus 250 to minus 350 range, you can usually get even odds, even plus money. CG, am I kind of on the right path? That's kind of what you're looking for?
Yeah, no, I agree.
Okay. Ty, I'm going to send you the next fight. It's Jim Miller and Jason Gonzalez. I'll set you up with this. Jim Miller on my bookie is minus 145. Jason Gonzalez is plus 115 on my bookie. And I'm going to send it to you because you always call me out for touting the Jersey guys. And Jim Miller, Jersey Jim, is a Jersey guy. So I gotta let you guys weigh in on this. So Ty, what do you think here?
Yeah, I kind of like Gonzalez in this, and it's not because I'm anti-Jersey with Jim Miller, but I think that Gonzalez is good on the ground. He's a good hitter also. I'm just really not confident in Jim Miller's chin. I think that Gonzalez is gonna put him out at some point. And right now you're getting plus money on him. I kind of like that. I think that this fight should be more even odds. Maybe Gonzalez is a slight favorite, but since Jim Miller's pretty much a fan favorite, I think that's why the odds value is what it is.
Yeah, and Jason Gonzalez, I believe he hasn't fought since 2017. It was a separated AC joint shoulder injury. CG, what do you think? Any plays here? Are you in on Jim Miller also, or Jason Gonzalez also, I should say?
So I'm on Gonzalez as well, mainly from a DraftKings perspective. I don't really feel confident in him enough to bet him, but Gonzalez is 7 years younger. He's a finisher. All 14 of his fights ended in a finish. He has 11 wins, 4 by KO, 7 by sub. Lost 3 times. He was knocked out twice, was submitted once, but he is a huge lightweight. He's 6'2", and he gave Gregor Gillespie a pretty damn good fight. I mean, Gillespie typically rolls through everybody. Gonzalez took him into the second round, ended up getting finished via arm triangle, I think it was, but gave Gillespie a tough fight that ended up getting fight of the night, actually. So, going from Gregor Gillespie to Jim Miller, I mean, shit, it's a much easier fight. I think Gregor Gillespie, from a talent perspective, is the top 5 guy at 155. And you look at Jim Miller, he lost 5 of his last 6 fights. And like Ty mentioned, doesn't have much of a chin anymore. For a long time, he had, like Lyme's disease, I think it was. I'm sure that took its toll on him. So I think Gonzalez is going to be the more physical guy, and I like Gonzalez in the upset.
Yeah, and just to add a couple of stats to this, Gonzalez is going to be 6 inches taller, 3-inch reach advantage, and again, he's southpaw. So this is going to be a tough matchup for him. And again, building on what CG just said, in that Gillespie fight, he was able to stuff that first takedown. Gillespie actually caught him. I think it was a straight right that he caught him with, and then after that, he was able to take him down kind of at will. But he took some pretty good damage in that fight. But yeah, and Jim Miller, again, he's 35 years old. He's been in there forever. I think this is his 43rd fight. And for the most part, he's 1-5 in his last 6. And the only win was I forget who that win was against, but the
Alex White.
And again, he caught him with a straight left that dropped him like early in the fight. Like Alex White had no idea what he was doing in that fight. I can't believe he had any what of a good game plan in that fight. I'm not betting this one. Again, the odds on Gonzalez, if you guys do want to play it on my bookie, is +115. So you can definitely get a plus money on that one. Ty, I want to send this next fight to you. This is Gilbert Burns and Mike Davis. And CG, your fight's coming soon. But I know Ty and I talked about Mike Davis back in the day. If you remember, Mike Davis fought on Dana White Tuesday Night Contender Series against Sadiq Yusuf. And I was on Mike Davis, and Ty was on Yusuf. And he told me, Yusuf is tough. He's quick. Everything that we all think about Yusuf at this point. Again, I needed to see it against Mike Davis to believe that. But I'm just, concerned here. I think Mike Davis on normal rest, normal, preparation for a fight, I think he'd have a pretty good chance against Burns. But in a week's notice, I don't know how this is going to turn out. So Ty, I set you up. Burns on my bookie is -260. Mike Davis is +200 on my bookie right now.
Yeah. So
does Mike Davis have a shot?
So after this, I'm gonna run and get my laptop charger real quick. But I actually kind of disagree with the sentiment that being on short notice is a disadvantage for him. I kind of think that it sets up to be an advantage in this fight, because with Burns, I think he's gonna try to use a wrestling-based approach, get him to the ground, and not mess with the stand-up. And I think that being on short notice, Davis knows that he's kind of playing from behind, playing catch up anyway. And I think that he might be more prone to brawl it out. His only chance is to catch Burns with a punch and knock him out. So that being said, I'm a little bit hesitant to pull the trigger on anyone, because I think that Davis could catch him, even though Burns should take him to the ground and work his submission game. Right now, do you have the odds on my bookie for the fight not going to decision?
No, those odds aren't going to be out until tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah, I talked to Rafael. Those will be dropped tomorrow. Okay,
so when those come out, I actually want to see that, because if it's near even, I think that I'm going to be betting pretty heavily on that. And I kind of hazard to guess it'll be around 200, which I still might make a little play on it, just not as big. But I'm not going to side with either guy, because I think Burns should win, but I'm afraid that he'll get knocked out.
CG, what do you think?
Once again, I'm in agreement. Mike Davis, solid fighter, 6-1, all 6 wins by KO. Only blemish was to Yusuf, and we all know Yusuf is legit. Burns is, honestly, he's a very well-rounded fighter, and I thought Burns looked fantastic in his last win against OAM. But like Ty mentioned, there's a lot of volatility that comes with Burns. We never know what he's going to do. Against Sago, Moret, Hooker, he had a striking-based game plan. Against OAM, he had 3 takedowns and 4 advances. So it all depends on what he wants to do. If he takes Davis to the ground, he's probably going to work a sub, and he'll probably get it. If he stands and trades, he's going to be in trouble. Who knows what he's going to do? I mean, if the fight remains standing, I like Davis by knockout. If it gets to the ground, Burns by submission. I don't feel confident enough to bet this fight, though.
And I'll even take it a step further. I think that Dan Hooker fight is a fight that really exposed Burns for what he wants to do. And that's kind of what you just alluded to, CG. I think Burns really wants to strike. He likes knocking people out.
He does.
I think he gets his rocks off with his, he's got great BJJ, but I think he gets his rocks off with that, with his grappling matches. You know what I mean? Because he still grapples and does his BJJ in between UFC fights. So I think when he gets into these UFC fights, he just wants to use his striking. And since he's had a little bit of success with it, I think that's what he leans on.
Well, see, the problem with that is he's not a good striker.
And that's exactly what I'm alluding to.
Yeah.
So Mike Davis is going to go from Yusuf, who's just fast as fuck, to Gilbert Burns. I mean, it's going to be a lot easier for him. And if Burns wants to stand and trade like he did against Hooker, once again, he will get exposed.
And that's why I'm afraid if Davis does decide to brawl it out, I think that he's going to catch Burns. And I'm not confident in it, and it shouldn't by rights happen. If it does, it's because Burns has a complete IQ dump and doesn't understand what he needs to do to win the fight.
And again, I've watched Mike Davis a couple fights now because I like him. I even watched some of his island fights, not even knowing when he was going to get to the UFC. He definitely took this fight because he wanted to be in the UFC. He thought that fight against Yusuf was going to be his meal ticket to the UFC. But the one issue with Davis that I did see, he likes to walk around that cage with a little bit too much confidence and keeps his hands a little bit too low. And I'm not saying that Burns isn't going to knock him out or is. I'm just saying Mike Davis needs to watch that, because in the UFC, you get in the ring with some of these strikers like a Sadiq Yusuf, and you can get yourself dropped. Now, not for nothing, if you go back to that Mike Davis-Sadiq fight, Mike Davis had plenty of success on the feet also. Obviously, Sadiq won the fight. I don't remember what the score was, but Mike Davis is tough. So this is a very, very tough short notice opponent for Gilbert Burns. I don't think I'm betting either way, but it's a fight I want to watch. There's a lot of fights here that I want to watch.
Good card.
Yeah, it's a good card. Now, CJ, I know you're not a big fan of this next fight, so I'll take this one and I'll throw you the next one. But
Thank you.
Carla Esparza and Verna, I'm going to say it wrong, Jardanova. Jardanova's 14-0. Carla Esparza's 13-6. I watched the tape before looking at the odds here, and I was a little surprised that the odds were basically a pick 'em. I think it's going back and forth right now. On my bookie last I looked, Esparza was -111, and Verna, I'm going to call it Verna because it's easier to say. Verna's -119. Verna has a bunch of submissions. She's pretty good on the ground, and she's pretty good at getting it there. But that's also what Carla Esparza does. She's pretty good at getting the fight to the ground. I think the submission upside has to go to Verna. I'm going to guess based on what I saw, and again, this is kind of a guess because I don't know the level of competition that Verna fought. But based on what I saw on the feet, she's not the best on the feet. She kind of uses her striking game to be able to close distance, to be able to get her hands on her opponent, push them up against the cage, or take them down in the middle of the ring. However she can get it to the ground, she has pretty good top control. She has pretty good ground and pound. And then she also works her submission games and looks to advance position on the ground. So that also does work into what Carla Esparza does well. Although Esparza has fought some very good talent, namely, Claudia Gadella, Cynthia Calvillo, who she actually beat, Tatiana Suarez, who totally manhandled her on the ground. I think Tatiana Suarez took her down like 9 times. So with all that being said, I'm not betting this fight. By all means, anybody can bet it if they want. Werner is in line for maybe a decision win or a submission win. I think Esparza is going to want to try to keep it on the feet as much as she can. If she can be strong enough in the clinch, not let Werner take it down, I think she'll have a better shot on the feet. So, CJ, I know you're not in love with this fight. Ty, let me throw it to you. Again, Esparza did beat your girl, Cynthia Calvillo. What do you think? I had to put you right there.
Yeah, I mean, Tatiana Suarez is my girl too, though. So, but no. So this fight's kind of interesting. I think that I don't know how to pronounce her name, Jandiroba.
Yeah,
I think that she's a strong competitor, and I think that she has a lot of tools that could cause problems for Carla. My issue with her is in Invicta when she kind of faced adversity. She did thrive, but it was more so split decisions. So she's not winning overwhelming fights, and she's taken a step up facing Carla. And so I think that if this is a close fight, Carla's going to have enough experience and high level experience to, get the edge in those close rounds. So I want to see that when the lines come out for going to decision in this fight. I think that's probably the play here. I can't really say with any certainty who I think's going to win the fight, but right now I'm kind of leaning towards Carla, but not confident enough to play her.
CJ, you want to add anything to this fight? I know you don't.
Yeah, I'm just going to reiterate something that I mentioned last week, and that's just that I don't feel comfortable betting on first-time UFC fighters. I mean, I'm going to call her Jandiroba, and she's 14-0, 11 wins by submission, but we just don't know if she can compete at the UFC level. The fact that Esparza went 3 rounds with Tatiana Suarez is extremely impressive. Suarez, in my opinion, is far and away the best strawweight in the UFC. I think Tatiana Suarez could beat Ben Saunders tomorrow in a fight. So the fact that Esparza went 3 rounds with her, fought the best of the best at 115, I have to give the nod to Esparza and take that wait-and-see approach to see if Jandiroba is any good.
And, I don't mean to give plugs to other people's podcasts or anything, but Brendan Schaub does Lunch Truck, I don't know what he calls it, Conversations or whatever. And he did one with Tatiana Suarez. He also did one with Justin Gaethje, which was pretty entertaining. But the one that he did with Tatiana Suarez, I listened to the other day, and it's pretty entertaining. So if anybody is a Tatiana Suarez fan, by all means, Ty, you may want to listen to that one. But it's pretty cool. I actually was a little jealous too. The food that these guys eat at the lunch trucks it's pretty good food. But let's get into this next fight. CJ, I'm going to throw you this fight. Not the most interesting fight on the card, but I actually have a play here. Augusto Sakai on my bookie is -150, and Andrei Arlovsky on my bookie is +120. What do you think here in this one, CJ?
So Augusto Sakai, 12-1, 10 wins by KO, and Andrei Arlovsky has been KO'd. Get ready for this 10 times, and he's 40 years old. But the thing is, Arlovsky actually went to decision in his last 6 fights. So you wonder, is his chin getting better? It's probably not the case, right? He's 40 years old. Your chin just doesn't magically get better. Maybe his striking defense is getting a little bit better. But because Arlovsky has went to decision in his last 6 fights, the fight is actually expected to go to decision. And how many fights at the heavyweight level are expected to go to decision? So I like whatever the line is for my bookie, which hopefully we can find out tomorrow. If there's a good line for this fight to end inside the distance, and specifically Sakai by knockout, it's definitely something that I'm willing to look at because, how much does Arlovsky have left at this point? I mean, I know Augusto Sakai knocked out Chase Sherman in his last fight. Nothing too impressive, but he still landed 6.2 strikes per minute. For a heavyweight, that's pretty damn good. Plus, he's a big guy, 6'4". I think he cuts weight to make 266. So he's going to have about 26 pounds on Arlovsky. So I like Augusto Sakai in this fight.
Yeah, he definitely does cut weight. In the Chase Sherman I actually watched earlier today, it said that he cuts in 265, and he is a big guy. Ty, what do you think here?
Yeah, I think Sakai is going to knock him out. I'm totally on board with that play. I'm going to play him straight. I'm going to actually play him a pretty heavy bet straight. I'm pretty confident in it. And I think that I might make a smaller play on him to win by knockout.
It is rare that Ty and I pick the exact same, bet here, but I agree with Ty. Sakai minus 150 is my play. I'm actually going to bet it, once I fund my account here.
You're going to bet it inside the distance?
No, I'm going to bet him straight. Sakai straight on my bookie is minus 150, and I like that. I like that a lot, actually.
So, Ty, are you going to bet Sakai inside the distance in a parlay or straight up?
So I'm gonna probably. I think I could see myself playing 3 or 4 units on Sakai straight up, and then maybe 1 unit on him to win inside the distance.
Nice.
All right. CG, I'll throw you this one again, and this is the one fight I don't have a great read on. No. Were you able to get film on Takashi Sato? I sent you some of this. Before. Yes.
Okay. Thank you for that, by the way. And shout out to Newsom because he has a nice little fight library on his website.
Yeah, he does. And actually, Lock of the Night is the one who puts it together on the Newsom site. But both of these guys do a great job. So if anyone wants to do tape study, hit me up on Twitter and I'll send it to you. But it's a site. Takashi Sato and Ben Saunders. I really just don't have a feel for this fight. I feel like Saunders should just take this to the ground. Doesn't bring any of his fights to the ground. God bless you. So CG, what do you think here? Let me just set you up with the odds here. Sato on my bookie is minus 15, and Saunders is plus 175.
I'm actually seeing a lot of people on Ben Saunders, and it's kind of crazy to me because Saunders was knocked out viciously in 4 of his last 5 losses. He was knocked out by Patrick Cote, Peter Sabata, Alan Jouban, and then recently Lyman Good. So his chin is just completely shot at this point. And this Sato guy, he has a 14-2 record. He has 9 wins by knockout, 2 wins by sub. And I was watching his fight against Joe Proctor, and I thought it was the UFC vet Joe Proctor who trains with Joe Lozon, but it didn't look like the same guy. But Sato won that fight by arm triangle, but he put himself in some compromised positions, which made me a little bit nervous. This Proctor guy put him in a triangle, then transitioned to an arm bar, and Sato was able to escape, but Ben Saunders has a pretty good rubber guard, and if Ben Saunders puts you in a triangle or an arm bar with those long limbs, I mean, Sato might not be able to escape. So it concerns me a little bit. Sato is definitely susceptible to the submission. He should win, probably will win by knockout, but this fight is a pass for me.
And even in the fight that I watched this afternoon against Matt Vial, I think his name was, Sato dropped him, but Vail dropped him right back. So I don't even know how good Sato's chin is, and that's why I'm a little uncomfortable with this fight. Ty, Ben Saunders is a 10th planet jiu-jitsu guy that doesn't use his jiu-jitsu often. Being that you're a jiu-jitsu guy, should he be using it here or what?
I think he's getting knocked out. It's Ben Saunders. I mean, dude's not a good fighter anymore. Maybe if this fight was 6-7 years ago, Ben Saunders would win. But the fight versus Joe Proctor that you seen Sato fight, that was in 2013. 6 years ago, I think that was Sato's second fight. Yeah, he might have been in some compromising positions back then, but since then he's lost 1 fight by knockout, and he got choked out in the 4th round of a championship fight in the number 1 organization in Japan. So, I mean, Ben Saunders is just not a good fighter. He doesn't have a good chin. I just see no way that I could be confident siding with Saunders at all. Right now, I think – what was the line on my bookie with Sato?
Sato was minus 215.
215. I think – CG was right that a lot of people are touting Saunders right now. I'm going to wait on this. I kind of want to have to see how they would look at weigh-ins also, just to see how big the size advantage is for Saunders. And, I mean, I think that I can get better value towards fight time because of all the people on Saunders. But I think Sato is a great play.
Yeah, no,
Sato's a small welterweight, 5'10". It doesn't say his reach on Fight Metric.
Even though he's not really aggressive, he has diverse striking, and I think that could cause a big problem for Saunders.
All right, so we're headed into the main event at this point, the main card, I should say, at this point. So we got 6 fights left, and we should just mention our sponsors. I'm sure you guys know at this point that we're sponsored by MyBookie. Hopefully you realize that Brews is our promo code. And the best way to support us is and support the podcast is obviously to sign up on MyBookie and use our code Brews. They would love that. We would love that, so we can continue that relationship. And then the other partner that we have, now that I'm 1 beer in, this is Brews and Bets, is Eat Clean Bro. So this is a Jersey company. They sponsor a lot of the UFC fighters and a lot of fighters in Jersey. I'll be at the Ring Combat event next month. And hopefully one of you guys come out to Jersey for a Ring of Combat event. I'm trying to tell Ty it's a lot of fun, but he's not interested. He wants a UFC event or bust. So, Ty, I'll throw this next fight back to you. Roosevelt Roberts and Thomas Gifford. Gifford has a championship belt. He's got a bunch of losses on his resume. But, again, he's only 26 years old. And he's actually going to have a 3-inch reach advantage, which I was surprised because I thought Roberts was real long in his fight. But this guy, Gifford's going to have a 3-inch reach advantage in this fight. So right now, Roberts on MyBookie is minus 385, and Gifford is plus 310. So this is another fight where level of competition I'm a little unsure of. Is the level that big? Is there that wide a majority between Roberts and Gifford here, Ty? What do you think?
Yeah, so if you haven't seen Roberts fight, definitely go check him out. He's a good fighter. Right now in the UFC, I mean, technically he's 2-0. He won in the Contender Series by submission and beat Darrell Horcher by submission. You know, I really like him. He's a really good prospect. I think that he's going to win by submission. I think he's gonna get this fight to the ground, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's a first round submission. At his current odds, I'm putting him in pretty much every parlay that I'm playing. I think that this is just a slam dunk play. And I want to see what the odds are for him to win inside the distance and by submission, because I might make a play by one of those also in addition to the parlay.
Now, Ty, for this, the one bet that I have on my bet sheet right now that I'm looking to make when it comes out is inside the distance. Just for this fight to finish inside the distance is minus 245. So that's actually something that I wouldn't mind putting in as a parlay piece myself. But you're talking about betting Roberts inside the distance? Well,
I don't think that Gifford has any chance to win. So you might as well take Roberts to win inside the distance if you're going to play that, and might as well get a little bit better value because Gifford's not really a good fighter and Roberts is a stud.
All right, CG, what do you think?
Agreed. Roberts is a beast. 7-0 professional record. Had 4 fights as an amateur. So in 11 total fights, he has never seen round 3. He's 6'1" at 155. Just stoic, silent assassin. He can TKO you, sub you, has a nasty guillotine. And this guy, Gifford from Arkansas, 17-7 record. He also has a 100% finish rate, but he has numerous victories over the same guy, I noticed. He actually fought Rocco Martin, took him to round number 2 before getting subbed, but Gifford doesn't have a shot. I honestly think that Roosevelt Roberts inside the distance is one of the safest bets that you could possibly play on Saturday. So Roberts is a beast. He's young. He's going to be around for a very long time. I mean, he truly is a threat at 155.
Yeah, good point. Ty, I'm going to throw this one to you. I'm kind of interested in your take. John Lineker and Corey Sandhagen. There's a couple fights on this card that we're about to come up to that I think could be fight of the night possibilities, and I think this is one of them. Lineker on MyBookie is minus 145. Corey Sandhagen on MyBookie is plus 115. And as much as I like Corey Sandhagen, he hasn't fought the best competition in his 3 UFC-sponsored fights. So, Ty, what do you think here?
Yeah, I hate that you threw this one to me because I'm not really sure what to think about it.
Yeah, not either, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, I really like Sandhagen's aggressiveness, but I think that versus Lineker, that might get him into problems. And so I really just don't have a good read on this right now. I'm leaning towards Sandhagen, but I think that's a little bit more of bias of his fighting style, and so I'm just going to stay away from it personally and just enjoy the fight. I really just don't have a good read on it right now.
All right, so CG, we may need to get some more analysis from you because Ty and I are just we're up in the air. Again, we're fans of both of these guys, so I'm going to set you up with this. Sandhagen's 27 years old. He's 5'10". John Lineker is 29 years old. He's 5'3". Okay, I'm a math major, so that's a 7-inch height advantage. In addition to that, he has a 7-inch reach advantage. With all that being said, the only one I've seen recently that has any success against John Lineker is TJ Dillashaw, and he was probably on PEDs back then. So, CG, what do you think?
So that's funny that you say that. I'm looking at Fight Metric right now, and it says that Lineker has a 67-inch reach and Sandhagen has 70.
I have 74, but this could be wrong.
Okay. Who knows? Different sites. But super exciting fight. I'm jacked up for this matchup. I was on Sandhagen all week just because the guy, I mean, he overcomes adversity. He remains calm under pressure. Great technical kickboxing. Savvy jiu-jitsu, but the one thing he really hasn't shown is good wrestling, and that is the blueprint for beating John Lineker. You look at his last two losses against Ali Bagatinov and TJ Dillashaw, they were able to get him to the ground and neutralize him. Nobody's been able to beat him in a striking contest in a very long time. And I'm hearing people say on podcast shows this week that Lineker gasses out. Lineker, within the last couple of years, I forgot when the fight was, but when he fought John Dodson in a 5-round main event, he threw 322 total strikes in that fight. He knocked out Kelleher in his last fight in round 3. So that goes to show me that he has 15 minutes worth of power. And if Sandhagen cannot get this fight to the ground, I mean, hopefully he can utilize his kicks and maybe attack Lineker's body or something. But, I mean, Lineker's forward pressure is, I think, going to be too much for Sandhagen to overcome. Sandhagen's tough as hell, but I think Lineker wins the fight. I'm not willing to bet it inside the distance, but I just think Lineker brings way too much to the table.
My only concern is, and it's not even a concern, it's just what I think John Lineker is going to do. When John Lineker hits Corey Sandhagen, I don't think Corey Sandhagen has ever been hit with what John Lineker is going to hit him with. Yeah. I don't know how he's going to respond to it because, again, in the UFC, I don't think the guys that he's fought in the UFC have been very good. And, again, when you say overcome adversity, I'm assuming you're talking about the Yuri Alcantara fight.
Yes.
He was basically sub. I mean, I thought he was sub. Right?
Absolutely.
And he got out of that. So with that being said, I don't know what we're going to get out of Corey Sandhagen here, but when he takes those first few shots from John Lineker, I mean, he could just knock him out. You know, so I'm not – there's no plays. For me, there's no plays on that one.
That's the thing. I mean, if Sandhagen wins, what's his path to victory? Striking-based decision? I don't see that happening. He has the better – he's the better kicker, you know what I mean? And maybe has better total kickboxing. Lineker is more of a boxer, I guess, just kind of – not even a boxer. He just throws haymakers. But I just think – I don't know. Based on the data that we have at our disposal, Lineker's the safer play.
Yeah, and I'm not sure what the gas tank issues are with Lineker. I'm not sure.
I've heard that a couple times this week, so
I don't know. All right, CJ, I'll throw you this fight right back to you. Glover Teixeira and Ian Cutelaba. Cutelaba is interesting. He's basically called the Hulk, right? I think that's his nickname. Big, strong. He has big power, but that power fades as the fight goes along. Now, can Glover Teixeira bring Cutelaba into the later part of this fight and let his power fade? Both of these guys have a couple of opponents, you know, together that they fought. Glover has beat both of the guys that they have in common, Jared Cannonier and Misha Serkinov, and Ian Cutelaba has actually lost to both of them. He lost the decision to Jared Cannonier, and he lost by submission to Misha Serkinov. With all that being said, Cutelaba had a nice finish in his last time out against Antigulov. Antigulov got the best of him early in that fight and was able to take him down. So does Glover Teixeira try to take him down? Does he try to work a submission game? I think Antigulov, the problem with him is he took him down and he was too much in a rush to advance position. I think if Glover Teixeira takes his time, I think he'll have a little bit more success. CG, with all that being said, on my bookie, this is a pick of -115 each. What do you think?
Oh, so tough fight to call. Kudalab was the finisher. He's 14-3, 11 wins by KO, 2 subs. Like you said, lost to Cannonier, lost to Serkinov. 2 guys that Glover beat fairly easily. And it's no secret what this fight comes down to is, can Glover get it to the mat? If he can, then I expect him to pass Kudalab's guard, work an arm triangle. The problem with Glover right now is he doesn't have much of a chin. He's almost 40 years old. I mean, he was rocked by Roberson. He was, given an irreversible beating by Gustafsson, knocked out cold by Anthony Johnson. I mean, but Glover has fought the best of the best, but that's a blessing and a curse, right? So I think the safe bet is this fight ending inside the distance, because one thing that we know about Kudalaba, the reason he lost to Cannonier is because he gassed out.
Correct.
So Glover has proven that he can go all 15 minutes. He's done it on numerous occasions. So Kudalaba has the edge on the feet. Even though Glover has good technical boxing, you can't trust Glover's chin. So I think if the fight goes to decision, Glover wins. If it's a grappling contest, Glover wins. But, there's always that chance that Kudalaba can just knock him out cold in the first round. But I will say, the longer the fight goes, it favors Glover. So gun to my head, I like Glover.
Agreed. Ty, what do you think here?
Yeah, I'm with you. I think that this is Glover's fight to lose. And it sounds weird to say, but Glover has really only lost to top 5 competitors at the time that he fought them. And Kudalaba is a huge step down in competition for him. I know he fought Roberson last time. I think that Roberson is better than Kudalaba, honestly. So I think this is just a step down in competition. And really, if he just avoids the haymakers in the first minute, if he kind of weathers the storm, this is his fight to lose. I think if he makes it out of the first 3 minutes, he has this fight wrapped up.
Inside the distance, Ty, or would you just bet him to win?
I mean, I would just bet him to win at the current price. It's pretty much even money. So yeah, I mean, there's no sense taking him inside the distance for an extra 70 cents on the dollar.
All right, so Ty, we're gonna get into fight number 11, and in this fight, it's Mike Perry and Alex Oliveira, and this fight is supposed to finish, but Mike Perry's chin is really always held up, right? He's never been knocked out. So Mike Perry right now on my bookie is +145. Alex Oliveira on my bookie is -175. But the inside the distance for this to finish inside the distance is -365. So who gets the finish here, Ty? What do you think?
Yeah, so I want Mike Perry to win. I just don't think it's going to happen. Oliveira is going to be searching for the takedown. He's really relentless with his takedowns. Mike Perry doesn't have really that good of wrestling defense. I think he's going to be able to get him down a few times during this fight, avoid most of the stand-up exchanges that Perry has to offer. And even if Oliveira does get hit, he's a pretty tough guy. I think that he just has more ways to win this fight, whereas Perry's just hoping for a knockout blow. So I'm leaning towards Oliveira. I think that he could submit him or at worst get a one-sided decision.
So CG, I'm thinking that this fight could be the Yancy Medeiros Alex Oliveira fight. Am I wrong here or what? I see you shaking your head. Yes. Did I hit it on?
I made note of that because I saw that fight live in Detroit.
Okay, so what do you think?
The greatest fight I've ever seen live, by the way. So Ty mentioned it. I mean, Oliveira has the more well-rounded skill set. He has knockout power. He has the 5-inch reach, but his ground game is significantly better. He could easily take Perry down and choke him out like he did Tim Means and Carlos Condit. But if he stands and trades with Mike Perry, I truly believe he's getting knocked out. Mike Perry has the better boxing. And the last time Oliveira was in a dogfight was Yancy Medeiros. And what happened? Oliveira gassed out because he just comes in guns blazing that first round, blows out his gas tank. And if he can't break you in the first 2 rounds, he's just not the type of guy that's going to beat you by decision. You know, he either knocks you out or subs you in the first 2 rounds, or he's going to wear down and lose the fight. So I try to make it a point to provide objective, evidence-based comments on this show. And I think the smarter play is Oliveira, but I don't know, something about it. I think Mike Perry's going to knock out Oliveira on Saturday. I like Mike Perry to win the fight. I just think that, I mean, Mike Perry went 3 rounds with Santiago Ponzinibbio, who in my opinion is the best striker in the welterweight division. If Perry can keep the fight standing, if he doesn't act like a fucking Riri like he did against Cowboy Cerrone, he could easily win the fight. So I like Mike Perry.
That reference is that needs to be cut and put on Twitter. But with all that being said, I think the safest play here is just inside the distance at -365, and I think if the line improves, you know, Ty mentioned earlier in the show that if you wait later in the week, a lot of these lines that are big lines, it just seems that money comes in on the other side. You may be able to get it at -285 or -260 later in the week. So if I can play this fight just to finish at -260, add it to a parlay, a couple of the parlay pieces we've mentioned previously, I think that's a great play on this card, on this fight specifically. And again, I think both guys have paths to victory here. Maybe a better DFS play than it is, you know, a betting fight, but this should be interesting. So, guys, I'm going to take this one, and then CJ, I'll throw you the last one. But Greg Hardy and Dmitry Smolyakov. I was in shock that this guy was back in the UFC, to be honest with you. I didn't know that Dmitry was still going to be a UFC fighter. I don't think he should be. And the fact that he's a Russian and the UFC was just in Russia last week and they saved him for this card tells you all you need to know why he's on this card with Greg Hardy. He is supposed to come in here and get knocked out by Greg Hardy. Again, Greg Hardy is fighting an American top team. That's where he trains, which is in Florida. This card is in Florida. This entire fight is set up for Greg Hardy to basically, you know, get one back. He should have won the Alan Crowder fight. If it weren't for the knee, he more or less would have won a decision if he didn't get a finish there. I think he's too athletic for Dmitry. I think you can bet this a couple different ways. Right now, Hardy is -325 on my bookie. I think if you want to add that into parlays, I think that's a fine play. Inside the distance is -460. Based on what I just said and what Ty had said earlier, I think you're going to get a better line as the week goes on. Other plays that you can make, maybe Hardy inside the distance. It's probably going to come out somewhere around -190. And if they have a Hardy by KO, TKO prop, I think that's even safer than, you know, get the extra points on the inside the distance because he's not submitting anybody. He's knocking somebody out or getting ground and pound. So, Ty, am I wrong here? Any of those plays? I think this is just tailor-made for Hardy.
Yeah, Smolikov's a terrible fighter. His only way to win is to get this fight to the ground, and he doesn't even look for takedowns. So, I mean, he's going to meet Hardy in the middle and get knocked out within the first minute.
CG, in agreement? Do we need to add anything else to this?
No, it's just
pick your favorite play of all the plays.
It's just ridiculous at this point. It's like I've never seen a push like this before from the UFC. It's like Dana White's like, who's the most fucking pathetic loser at heavyweight that we can throw in there to lose to Greg Hardy? Oh, Alan Crowder. And he goes in there. Hardy fucks that up at the illegal knee. And then they go and bring Smolyakov back, who, God, Smolyakov made Cyril Asker look like John Bones Jones in that last fight. I mean, Asker took him down, got to full mount, started landing some ground and pound, and finished him. It's like Cyril Asker's not even a good fighter. I mean, Hardy's going to light him up. Yeah. I'm sorry, what was that?
No, it was in the first round that he just covered up. He didn't try to do anything on the ground.
But the thing is, you look at Smolyakov's record, he's 9-2, finished all 9 of his wins, 4 KOs, 5 subs. So, you know, on paper, Smolyakov looks decent, but he's a complete can. Hardy's going to knock him out first round.
So
easy money.
Just to let you guys know, if you parlayed Angela Hill, Roosevelt Roberts, and Greg Hardy, right now you're getting even money.
Yeah, and again, even in all three of those, I would have no problem playing Angela Hill by decision, parlaying that with Roosevelt Roberts inside the distance, and then Greg Hardy by KO TKO, and you probably get like plus 300. No,
a lot of sites won't let you parlay props though.
Oh, okay, I didn't know that.
So, but I mean, those three fighters, if you're getting even money on those, do you think that those have any realistic chance to lose?
I don't know. I mean, but again, I didn't think Hardy had a realistic chance to lose to Crowder either.
Exactly. And Angela Hill broke my heart in her last fight against Ronda Marcos, so I'm still bitter about that.
Well,
no, I mean, knowing my luck, Angela Hill's going to pull off a submission or something.
Well, so you think that Greg Hardy might be the weak link, Steve, in that parlay? Like,
no. I don't think he's the weak link at all. I think he should have beaten Crowder. I'm just saying, is there any way for him to lose?
Well,
yeah, there is.
Okay, so that's fair enough. But say you hit the first two legs of the parlay, you have even money on it.
Right.
You could put money on and hedge on Smolikov, and you're guaranteed to win money either way.
No, I mean,
at that point,
your original bet is on the money. I mean, that's an easy bet, and those are three slam dunk. You know, all three of us agree. We all do tape study.
Well,
we all watch the fight. We all agree that that's how it should finish.
At that point, though, if I have $500 riding on that parlay and I hit the first two legs and Greg Hardy's the last leg, knowing that he's pretty green, I don't mind putting a $50 or $100 on Smolikov and walking away with at worst $100 profit if Smolikov wins, or at this point it's $100 profit if you bet $50 over your initial play. Either that or winning the parlay.
I have a 4-fight parlay that I really like. It just seems so fucking obvious, but I'm hoping that one of you two talk me off the ledge.
Are you just gonna tease it, or are you gonna tell us?
Do you want to break down the next fight or what?
Yeah,
I'll tell you right now.
All right, here we go. No. We'll throw it to you, and you can finish the show with your 4-way parlay. So, CG, this is all your fight. We talked about this before we went on the air, and you were the one that kind of had a little bit more to add than Ty and I. I guess we're a little up in the air right now. Ronald Souza, Jacare on my bookie right now is minus 200, and Jack Hermansson on my bookie is plus 160. CG, it was you who said it, right, or was it Ty?
No, just to be clear, I'm not up in the air on this fight at all.
No, you have a strong take. I'm sorry, Ty. CG's the one that's up in the air.
I'm up in the air. Yeah, I definitely am.
And so I wanted to hear his perspective to maybe I'm too confident on it.
That was the conversation, exactly. All right, CG, go ahead.
I keep on going back and forth. So Hermansson's been looking great. I think he has the nastiest ground and pound at 185. 11 KOs, 5 subs. But the problem is, what's his path to victory against Jacare? Do you take him down? Because less than 3 years ago, Ferreira beat Hermansson by what? I think it was second round arm triangle. Then you look at Jacare, he's getting older. The thing about Jacare too, recently, going back to 2017, he's been alternating wins and losses. So he beat Tim Boach, lost to Robert Whitaker, beat Brunson, lost to Gastelum, beat Weidman. So I don't know. Based on recent trends, he might take an L in this fight. I mean, the thing about Jacare is he's 39 years old. His gas tank's been looking a little bit inconsistent, although he looked a lot better against Weidman. But Hermansson is 30 years old. And the fact that he was able to take down David Branch in that last fight, and he did that inverted guillotine where he locked up the head and the arm. Yep. So Branch couldn't fight the hands, and Branch was tapping out within 5 seconds. I mean, God, Hermansson's been looking fucking great. Overcame adversity to beat Talis Lades. Yeah, I keep on going back and forth. I mean, would I be surprised if Jacare takes him down, transitions to a rear naked choke, armbar? No, but I mean, if he doesn't get it, from what I'm hearing, Jacare is not taking the fight very seriously. He's basically offended that he even has to fight Jack Hermansson, and Hermansson's not somebody that you want to take lightly. So, I like the fight, obviously, to end inside the distance. I think that's a pretty safe bet. I don't know where to go. I keep on going back and forth. Honestly, this is one of the toughest fights that I've ever had to call. But I'll tell you what, I wouldn't be surprised if Hermansson won.
You know what? If Jacare is not taking the fight seriously, then I would agree with you. But I think this sets up perfect for Jacare. He lives in Florida. Supposedly the UFC told him if you win this fight, you're going to get a title shot. So when you look at Jacare's losses, you're talking about Musasi, who he came back and beat, Rockhold, Romero, Whitaker, and Gastelum. So those guys are all studs. And those are 5 of his 6 losses. Hermansson was finished by Thiago Santos, who, for the most part, it was a very close fight. Hermansson really didn't get anything off early in that fight. A little bit of clinch work, but that was about it. And then he wound up getting caught. He was finished twice, Hermansson, in those 4 fights, once by an arm triangle and once by a regular triangle choke. So Ty, his last 7 fights have finished. Inside the distance is minus 675. So I'm going to guess somebody's getting finished within these 5 rounds. Who is it?
So I'm going to take all my winnings for the night on that parlay and some of the other ones, and I'm putting it all on Jacare. He has 0 chance to lose this fight outside of a lucky punch, I think. Hermansson's going to want to get this fight to the ground, which, I mean, I don't know why you would versus Jacare. He's going to get submitted. Standing up, I don't think that Hermansson's that much better than Jacare, to be honest. And I don't really even think this is a fight that Jacare has to take serious. I don't think that Hermansson is even close to the same league. If you look at their former fights, Jacare only loses to the champion and the #1 contender. Hermansson's not even top 10. And yeah, he's looked great versus David Branch, who's 40-something years old, who he was good years ago, but he hasn't looked good recently. And CG said it best. He had a come-from-behind performance against Talis Leites. A come-from-behind performance. If you're losing to Talis Leites, you're not beating Jacare. And, I mean, I think that this is a slam dunk play. I wouldn't be surprised if Jacare knocked him out or submitted him. But I'm playing him straight across the board, just straight up to win. And I'm taking all my profits from the night on my other fights, and I'm putting them all on Jacare. And it's all or nothing.
So, again, I'm just going to add some narrative since me saying anything after what Ty just said kind of doesn't make any sense. So Hermansson has lost to Ferreira, who I believe that was in Brazil. And then he came back and lost to Thiago Santos in Brazil. And then his win against – who's the last one that you just mentioned, Ty? Leites?
Yeah.
Leites, I believe, was also in Brazil. And I believe he dislocated his shoulder during that fight. At one point in the fight, I think he was up against the cage and something. I think Leites actually had his back. And he was kind of screaming in pain at one point. And came back. He had to come back, obviously, after that. And in the 3rd round was able to overcome the injury. But for the most part, I think Hermansson is tough as hell. But again, I think Jacare on the ground. I think Jacare is going to get this to the ground.
You could be as tough as you want. When you get caught in a choke, the toughness doesn't save you. You go unconscious.
Yeah, and Jacare actually, the first UFC event I saw live was UFC 208. And for those of you who don't remember which card that was the worst pay-per-view in the history of UFC pay-per-views. I'm dead serious. That was the home Durandamy pay-per-view.
Oh.
Okay. There was only one finish in the card, and it was actually Jacare. So he saved the night because that fight card was terrible.
That was atrocious.
CG, we'll end this first MyBookie sponsored, Eat Clean Bros sponsored podcast with your 4-fight parlay. So Ty gave out a pretty good 3-fight parlay. I like that. I wrote it down. I'm interested to see what your 4-fight parlay is. Go ahead.
Okay. Roosevelt Roberts inside the distance. Greg Hardy inside the distance. Oliveira Perry fight doesn't go to decision. Jacare Hermansson fight doesn't go to decision.
And that's like minus 675. Something like that?
Something like that, yeah. I can check.
Did you see what that pays?
I have not looked yet. No, I've just been taking notes throughout the podcast.
Yeah.
Are there any do you disagree with any of those bets, either one of you?
No, I think the only
individually, do you? Yeah. I just feel like that's so safe.
I think I would be safer and say to just bet some of them to to just win, not inside the distance. But that's the only thing. That's the only criticism I would give it.
Then the return on investment goes down significantly. I mean, if Roosevelt Roberts, he's going to beat that bum first round guillotine, Hardy first round knockout. I mean, what are the chances that those two fights go to decision?
No, I agree with you.
Yeah, I think the one that could be problems, though, is the Oliveira fight.
I agree. That's the one that I'm a little bit nervous about, but still. I mean, when's the last time Alex Oliveira went to decision?
Yeah, no, I know, but Perry's pretty tough, and so is Oliveira. So
I just think that Oliveira takes him down, subs Perry, or
I do too, but I think that's where your biggest risk is.
I agree with you. Yeah, that's the one that I'm a little bit nervous about, but yeah, I mean, I just still Oliveira and Perry. I don't see that one going on. Even Burns and Davis, I don't see that fight going to fucking decision either. I mean, I guess if Davis can, stop the takedowns and maybe jab his way to a 3-round decision, I mean, that's possible. But I feel like a lot of these fights on paper, they just seem really obvious. But
do we know if my bookie allows parlays?
I don't know that yet. I'm gonna have to look into it. I know you said that earlier. I'm gonna have to look into it because the props aren't even out yet. And actually, their inside the distance lines are going to be dropping tomorrow. Again, Rafael told me earlier in the day, so I'm not sure yet.
Cool.
See, the thing is, if I bet Roosevelt Roberts straight up, it's minus 360. If I bet him inside the distance, minus 170.
Yeah, it's pretty substantial. But like for me, I don't personally like to get too greedy when I play parlays.
Yeah.
I would rather just secure the money on some fights that I'm confident about. That being said, I think Roberts is going to finish him within the first couple minutes of the fight. He's that much better. And I think that he's an elite prospect, and this Gifford guy he's not even UFC caliber. So, I could understand playing it. Personally, that's not the style that I like to bet, but I can't really knock it.
I like to take some high-risk, high-reward bets. I mean, I don't.
Yeah, no, I've had friends that only take underdogs in parlays. I don't understand it personally because I think that if you hit one underdog, you might as well get that profit anyway. But they're pretty successful with it and they do well. But I think it's just what style you select with your betting.
Right. I mean, to me, all of those outcomes are very predictive. There's data to back it up. I mean, do you think Oliveira and Perry will end inside the distance?
I do, but I think that Oliveira's path to finishing, and he's the favorite, is going to be via submission. Perry's never been knocked out.
Yeah.
And you said
I agree with you.
Pretty sure you said it earlier about Ponzinibbio. He didn't knock out Perry.
Right. I think there's a higher likelihood that Perry knocks out Oliveira. If they stand in trade, I think it's Oliveira that's going to get slumped. But if the fight gets to the ground, I mean, even
then though, Oliveira's pretty tough. So
we have to revisit this next week. I don't know. I like it. I would be shocked if it didn't happen, honestly.
And again, people are going to watch this podcast and they're going to make their own decisions on the bets. But we're going back and forth with it. You can easily just leave it out, find something else that you like. It's still going to probably be a pretty big number, I would assume, CG. So taking that one fight out, instead of making it minus 300, maybe you get like plus 180 on it. Still good odds for something that you think is going to come in.
Let me check one thing real quick. When's the last time Alex Oliveira went to decision? Holy shit.
So while you're looking that up, do you guys follow horse racing at all?
Just a little bit.
July of 2016.
Are you guys going to be betting the Kentucky Derby at all?
Pretty sure I am.
Maybe if they're
also.
What's that?
Probably on my bookie also, by the way.
Yeah, maybe if there's enough interest, maybe I'll get one of my buddies to come on and we'll have a Derby show if there's enough interest.
Yeah, or maybe we could even do an aside, a 15-minute aside. On the Derby, do something like that.
Yeah, that'd be cool because I need to research myself and that'll get me motivated to research.
Definitely.
Oliveira's last 8 fights have ended inside the distance. It's going down. 4-fight parlay. Going all fucking in, baby. Let's do this.
All right, so guys, good luck. CG's going all in this week. Ty is playing it a little more conservatively. I guess I'll be somewhere in between. Good luck with your bets. Make sure you register on MyBookie. Sign up. Use our code Brews. Again, they're supporting us, and by you guys supporting us, signing up with code Brews is all the support that we need. So thank you and good luck with your bets this week.
If you're an MMA junkie, you'll want to catch the first ever Bellator welterweight Grand Prix title fight on April 27th. And if you're a wise guy, you'll be betting on the fight at MyBookie. Rory McDonald will defend his title against John Fitch after failing to become Bellator's first dual division champ in his last fight. Ilima McFarlane will also put her unbeaten professional record to the test at the Bellator 220. The Eliminator will face Veda Ortega in the co-main event. Whether you want to bet on the underdogs to win the fight or determine which round McDonald will deliver a knockout, MyBookie loves MMA and consistently delivers a great selection of bets for every fight night, from UFC to Bellator. Even better, they process all payout requests within 48 hours, so you'll get paid fast when you win. Best of all, their easy-to-use mobile site lets you place bets within seconds from anywhere. And to make sure you have plenty of cash, MyBookie will give you a 50% bonus on your first deposit. Just visit mybookie.ag today and use promo code BREWS. That's promo code BREWS. Things are simple with MyBookie. Play, win, and get paid. Thank you for watching, everyone. This is your producer, David. We really hope that you enjoyed the show. This is a new style of show that we're going with today. And be sure to like and subscribe on all of our social medias. And stay tuned for more upcoming Brews and Bets media.